community engagement. I'm the community engagement officer for the program, so I'm generally the main point of contact between you, the program, and the participants. I come from a dairy farm in southwest Victoria, and previous to this role, studied law, worked in legal roles, and then in agricultural relationship management roles before starting on the program in January.
Chloe.
Hey everyone, lovely to meet you all. I'm Chloe. I am the Training and Career Development Officer for the AgCAREERSTART program. So my role is sort of finding, facilitating, organising, paying for training, some engagement activities as well for the participants. So I work quite closely with the participants in working out what they would like to do to upskill themselves throughout the program. And I also will work closely with some of you guys if you wish to kind of throw around some ideas of what you think might be beneficial for your participant, what you would like them to get out of the year, whether it's certain training aspects, etc. But we'll cover that a bit later. My role, well, my background is a little bit different to Steph and Kayla. I actually didn't grow up in agriculture at all. I'm pretty well like one of these AgCAREERSTART participants, have just come into the industry and I absolutely love it. I've predominantly spent most of my time before AgCAREERSTART working on farm, so on an on-farm role, mainly in the sheep and wool industry. So very passionate about young people in agriculture and seeing them succeed in a career in ag, and yeah, do a lot sort of in a personal capacity in that role as well. So very excited to be a part of the AgCAREERSTART program and yeah, deliver this to more young people and to yourselves.
Beauty. Thanks, Chloe. All right. So just before we get into anything else, I did want to share just a bit of a look at where our placements are at for next year. So we're still matching, as many of you know. Lots of you are in different stages of the process, whether that be you've already offered a position to an AgCAREERSTART participant, you've had an interview, you're about to have an interview, you're still figuring out if you want to interview someone. But this map just shows us the confirmed placements. So these are the placements that we have had offers of employment for. Gives you a bit of a look at how far and wide our participants are going to be spread, but also where there's little pockets. So Moree, Mungandai, Sam, Narrabri, in that area, there's quite a few. Same Griffith, sort of through to Hay, that area, and Southwest Victoria as well. There's some nice pockets. But as we move through and continued confirmations come through, this map will obviously grow. So we'll share this with you once we've got all the confirmed placements. So you can have a bit of a look and see where maybe your next closest peer host farmer might be. Just move back to the PowerPoint presentation. Alrighty. Trying to drive Zoom after you've been using Teams for a while is a bit fun. But I do just want to quickly talk about our pilot year. So 2022 was the first year of the program. So our participants who are on farm this year and our hosts who are participating this year were the very first. So we thank them equally for putting their faith in us and the program and getting involved. This year we had 30 placements nationally in cattle, sheep, poultry, pork, horticulture, cotton, grains and dairy. 57% of our participants who are seeing out their gap year will be staying on farm, their host farm, beyond the end of this year, which is really great. So pretty decent chance that you might get to keep someone long term. 18% of them are going on to pursue further study in agriculture, and then 96% of them intending to stay in agriculture long term, which for us is just absolutely thrilling and a massive highlight for us this year. It's been a lot of hard work, but for 96% of them to indicate that they intend on staying in ag long term, really exciting. Of course, not everyone stayed through the whole year. We had 7% attrition rate from the program, which is not terrible, but we always expect to see it. They're young kids, they don't quite know what they're getting into. So for some of them, getting to farm can be the shock of their life. And yeah, so they choose to move out of the program, which is totally acceptable and I think to be expected in some ways. Did anyone have any questions about the 2022 cohort, anything else about how it's gone before we move into the full induction for this year? Feel free to pop any questions you have in the chat and the team will ask them as we go. Otherwise, we'll move forward. So, sorry, Gab, you're going to see a lot of photos of yourself, Gab. So just a bit about, this is the not fun slide. So just a reminder of your obligations under the AgCAREERSTART program. So first and foremost, it's about providing a safe and enriching experience for your participant, also for yourselves, but for us, their safety is paramount on farm. And through your screenings, we would have talked about physical and psychological safety being of utmost importance to us. It's important that we have one identified point of contact for the program, so that if we need to get in touch, we always know who that person is. I don't think that's an issue for anyone that's signed up to the program at the moment. For some of our multi-site farms, so our corporates and people who've got multiple sites, we'll just continue to work with you, make sure we have the best point of contact for each of the individual participants. Employment contract, participants getting paid at or above award wages, and that they're working full-time equivalent hours. That's pretty straightforward. You will get sent a host farmer agreement once we've received word that your participant has accepted the job on farm. So there's an agreement, basically outlines a lot of what was in the screening that we did, but also just things you won't do, such as we won't disparage you in the media, and likewise you won't be in the media doing the same thing to the program and the government and all those sorts of things. The on-farm induction is also a compulsory part of the program, so it's really important that our participants, again, along those lines of safety being of utmost importance, that our participants are properly inducted at least to a minimum standard that we have outlined. And after that, of course, you receive your farm safety incentive payment of $2,000. It's really important that we have all incidents reported to the AgCAREERSTART team as soon as possible. The outline for when and how to report different incidents will all be in the handbook that you'll get given. If you haven't received it already, it will be on its way to you again once we've received that confirmation that you've got a participant starting on farm. That handbook is the Bible. It will outline every question you could possibly answer. If it's not in there, I'll be very surprised, and we will add any answers that we have missed. But yeah, that handbook outlines, I guess, the categorization of incidents and how we like to hear about them. We don't need to necessarily hear about someone coming off a bike and not seriously injuring themselves, but if they do sprain an ankle and need to have any time off the farm for any period of time, if you don't let us know, at least have the participant let us know. Work with the AgCAREERSTART team to assist in providing the participant with access to training and development opportunities. Of course, Chloe will talk about that a bit later on. As we reiterated in the screening. One moment, there we go. Chloe will talk about training a little bit later on. Someone's having computer issues. Got a bit sidetracked. So Chloe will talk about the training a little bit later on, but as we reiterated in the screenings, no training or engagement opportunities in the program are compulsory unless we state otherwise. I can't think of one that is compulsory for any of our participants to attend. It's completely at your discretion when and if our participants attend training, just asking for an open mind and some collaboration on getting them to these different activities and training opportunities. Of course, this program is also about embedding our young people in the local industry, but also in their local community as well. So whatever you can help out with there, that would be great. And then, as I mentioned, make sure you're across the handbook and adhere to all your responsibilities. But we've covered pretty much all of it in your screenings anyway. Any questions about your obligations? No? Just pop them in the chat and we'll answer them as we go if you do have any. All right, and then I'll throw to Chloe now, who is going to cover the onboarding process.
So, yeah, as Kayla mentioned, everyone's at different stages at the moment, but as your participant accepts that job offer and we get confirmation of that, we will start sending you onboarding information. So that will be in the form of an email. So you will get a host farmer agreement, and in that agreement, please read through it, please ask any questions, etc. You do need to sign that and provide a signed copy back to us in order to be in the program. You'll also get sent a handbook, the AgCAREERSTART handbook. So there's a host farm one and a participant one. Participants obviously get theirs in their onboarding package, and it's, again, the Bible. It should have all the information you need to have a successful AgCAREERSTART placement. You need to provide your participant with an employment contract, and that must be signed and returned to us before they start on farm. We can't stress how critical that is. And we'd also like to stress that we know the start date that they are starting on farm before they start on farm. So if, even if they're planning on starting the 1st of Feb, please let us know that as soon as possible, just so we can work out and make sure all of our documents on our end are in order. So yeah, signed employment contract and letting us know a start date before the participant starts on farm is critical. Each participant will complete an online farm safety induction module before arriving on farm. This is a free platform that you can do yourselves if you'd like to find out what they're covering, but essentially it's just a basic overview of farm safety, what they might encounter, how to assess risks, etc. We also ask that our farmers sit down and do the induction template with their participant within sort of the first 1 to 2 to 3 weeks of being on farm. So we will provide you with that onboarding or that template in some correspondence, probably early in the year, before your participant starts on farm. And then from there, you'll need to do the minimum induction. And then obviously, if you have your own farm inductions that you complete, then please go above and beyond and do all your inductions as well. This is just a minimum that you must complete. So it must be signed by yourselves, by the participant, and sent back to us in order to receive that once-off payment of $2,000, as Kayla said. Obviously, as we said, you will have your own farm-specific information, inductions, processes, policies, procedures. Great time to be talking to the participant about that whilst doing your induction, and please do them. We're not, I guess there was a few questions about it this year in regards to, does our induction cover all of that? Yes, but we want you to make sure you have inducted your participant to your farm in your way, covering all your policies, inductions, procedures, etc. So, and then basically, we really just want you to touch base with your participant and tell them, if there is anything specific that they need to bring to work on your farm. If you require high vis, if you require a certain type of work boot, steel caps, etc., please communicate that as early as possible to the participants, because unfortunately they do arrive without this stuff, and we want to make sure that they're ready to go once they're on farm. We've given them a general packing list of things we think might be viable, but again, if you need them to provide their own motorbike helmet, make sure you tell them as far in advance as you can so they've got time to go and get that before they start on farm. Yeah, as we said, all this onboarding information, the handbook, agreement will be sent once you've confirmed that placement. We've got the start date and all of those sorts of things, that confirmed placement with the participants.
Beauty. Chloe, I'll just jump in and add, just in case we get any questions, and even if we don't, vaccinations is sometimes a question that comes up. That's not something that we get involved with. If you require your participant to, say, have Q fever vaccination or something like that, make sure you let them know in advance as well. We've heard participants are already planning their moves at the moment, so yeah, wherever possible, plenty of advance notice, but not telling anyone anything they don't already know.
I guess this one is pretty common sense, but just wanted to reiterate that it's just a friendly reminder that for many of these participants, this will be the first time that they're moving out of home and working full time. So most of them are leaving year 12 or they've just finished school. So yeah, working full time. So that is sometimes a big cultural shift. So when they arrive on farm, please just make sure that you introduce them to the farm team from the onset and make them feel welcome. Set aside time to do a thorough onboarding and just really explain what they're supposed to be doing every day, and yeah, just go over that with them and make sure they understand that. Also, make sure you connect them with social opportunities, because some of these people, they're literally going from Sydney to WA. You know, it's a huge move, so they won't have networks. So if you're a member of a sporting club, if you're a member of a farm group, like, please introduce them, please connect them to other young people in the area so that they can make friends, and, you know, it makes that homesickness a little less real. And I guess just please be patient during the first few weeks as they settle in and learn the ropes, and try to create a culture of openness where they can come to you with any questions or concerns that they do have. For many participants, it might be the first time they've done something as simple as using a lawnmower. So please don't assume they know how to do it. Just explain it, and, you know, create that culture that no question is too stupid. And sometimes, you know, these people don't like to ask for directions, so just really explaining those simple tasks. Again, make sure that you set expectations from the onset. For example, if they're living on site in farm accommodation, explain how you want the house kept, how often you'll do inspections, and what the ramifications will be if they don't follow the rules. If they're using a farm vehicle, again, let them know what the rules are around that and the expectations. But just really remember that this is a huge life step for a lot of them. A lot of them are only 18, some even 17, going out on farm, and just to check in regularly with them to see how they're going. If you do have any concerns over how they're going or their welfare, we're always here to help if you feel like we can help. So just reach out.
I think one of the big learnings from this year was just around how reluctant they are to rock the boat in any way, which means they might not raise issues because they don't want to upset anyone, especially in their first few months on farm. So just I suppose this has been a year of learning for us, and that's certainly been one of the big issues is those little challenges have manifested into bigger challenges because participants haven't voiced their concerns, and they should have, but that's a life experience thing that they will learn eventually, is that the earlier you address a problem, the earlier it can be solved, but they don't like to upset people. And so I think where you can, just reminding them that it's okay to come forward and let you know that they've knocked the pump off the fuel tank or whatever it might be, just to let them know that that's okay and mistakes will happen. And that also just to help them identify any issues between employees. If there's multiple staff on your farm, participants don't like to start drama, I suppose, and so they might look over things that might be otherwise an issue because, again, they don't want to rock the boat. So just giving them that guidance as older human beings and people who've got a bit more life experience to them as well. All right. This is me. So I said it before, and we've said it in the screenings, but I just wanted to remind everyone, they're your employees. You're the boss at the end of the day. We won't interfere with your management of your staff. We will just be there to assist the whole way through. So as much as we're here to make sure the participants are having a safe and happy time, we're here to make sure you're having a happy time as well. And whatever we can do to support that, that's what we're here for. Please don't be a stranger and let us know. And again, just reinforcing safety is paramount to the program. We will look to get involved if we have concerns about safety, but this year, every time we've had a safety issue, it's always been handled appropriately by the farmer. And from our point of view, it's just about making sure those steps happen, and then everyone can walk away having had a really good experience of managing an issue. All right, Steph.
Okay, awesome. So welfare, as part of the program, as Kayla said, the safety and welfare of our participants is paramount, and it's a supported program. So over the course of the year, I will be in contact with the participant a number of times just to check in, make sure they're doing okay, having a good time, and that'll be via phone, text or email. But I'll also be in contact with you as the farmer, probably within the first month of them starting on farm, just to make sure you're going okay, you think they're going okay, and to see if we can assist in any way if you do have any concerns about that. In terms of engagement, we would love for our farmers to connect. Kayla mentioned before, but we do have a WhatsApp group that our farmers can join, and the link is in the handbook. So definitely add yourself to that and connect with other farmers on the program. And that way, if someone's having a problem, I'm sure someone else has probably dealt with it at some point, so you can rely on each other. Over the course of the year, we do farm visits too. I think we would have mentioned that to nearly everyone in the screening, but if we're in an area at a field day or a conference or something and you're not far away, we might pick up the phone and say, hey, can we come for a visit? These are mainly social in nature, to put a face to a name, to meet a participant in person, but also if there's an opportunity to take some photos and promote your farm and the participant on our social medias, that would also be great. But again, if you have any concerns, that's why we're here. Reach out to us.
So as we were talking about earlier, each participant receives a $4,500 training and engagement bursary. So that bursary is held with our Career Start. It isn't given to the participant as a whole to spend throughout their gap year to upskill themselves, to attend industry events, etc. So they work with myself to work out a bit of a training plan. And as we said earlier, what do they want to get out of this year? What do you hope for them to get out of this year in terms of upskilling themselves? If a Chem Cert is, high priority for you, let's get them sorted and let's get them enrolled in a course as soon as possible. So in the past and sort of in this year, we had a real mix of participants doing lots of different courses, training, etc. It can be accredited and it can be non-accredited training as well. So we had a few do forklift tickets this year. We had low stress stock handling courses, certs 3 and 4 in agriculture and rural operations. We had chemical handling certificates, professional development, online courses as well with science communications. We had a couple go through a HR license. What else? Shearing schools. And then, in your industries, you might have, other workshops that happen. So we had a fair few go through dairy, nutrition, cups on, cups off courses, those sorts of very industry specific courses as well. So really, the world is your oyster in regards to training for your participant. In saying that, though, we do want to reiterate that we do hope that this training is participant-led as well with your guidance. So these people, we want to keep them in ag long-term. We want them to upskill themselves for long-term retention in our industry. So we want to give them the skills to do that, but we also recognise that farmers need skills for their farms, and we want to make sure we're getting the best of both worlds in what you as host farmers need for your farm and in that participant, but also what that participant wants to do in industry, hopefully long-term. So just marrying up those a little bit. In terms of time off, you'll all be aware training comes in all different forms, online, in person. It can be a week, it can be one day. We really hope that you will allow them to have the time off, but again, please set clear expectations on how training days will be taken off. I know it's been covered in all of your screenings, but just to reiterate, set that expectation early. How much time do you need in advance for them to do training? How much, how will it be taken, annual leave, time off in lieu, however it might be, just to have those conversations. Any training that we do offer to the participants, so whether there's a workshop in your area and we suggest that they go to it, we'll try and let you know as early in advance as we can, but no training is mandatory in this program, and we hope that the participant wouldn't come to you, and we've really stressed it to them as well that just because AgCAREERSTART said to do it doesn't mean that they have to do it. No training is mandatory, and it must work within your business. So if your participant comes to you and it's the middle of shearing or the middle of harvest and, hey, I want a week off, and you say no, well, that's fine. Let's work out another time for them to be able to do it, because it needs to work within your business. It needs to be viable, and no training is mandatory. It's just, really encouraged. So we'll work with the participant. I'm very excited to work with you as host farmers too. So I'll be contacting the participants at certain points during the year, but I'd also really love to work with the host farmers in, getting to know what you need for your farm, but also you're the best ones to know what's happening in your area as well. So really excited to be working with you in that training and career development space.
Chloe, I think for our returning host farmers, probably one of the biggest changes we're making from 2022 to 2023 is the involvement of host farmers in the development of training plans. So this year, the participants, we really let them take the lead, but I think what we've learned is it'd be good for the host farmers to be involved more from an accountability point of view, so that if a participant says, hey, I want to do a forklift ticket, that the host farmer, you're aware as the employer that this is what they've said they're going to do, and you can keep bugging them and say, hey, you said you're going to do that forklift ticket, have you booked it yet? So you as host farmers will be invited to be involved in the sort of training process to the extent that you would like to be. So you will be invited to a few training meetings. You'll also be asked to sit down with your participant and look at their training plan. And you'll also get a summary of each of the training meetings that Chloe has with the participants. So you'll see exactly what they're discussing around what their training they want to do, what they think they want to be doing long term, but also that we ask them to self-identify some skills gaps, and we'll also ask you as host farmers to identify any skill gaps that we can address nice and early with some training. So training is there for you to be involved in as much as you would like to. But again, of course, always participant led. We don't want to force them to do anything that they don't see value in, but it's about us explaining the value of these things to them. So if you got something in mind that you think your participant should be doing, let Chloe know and she can raise it in the next training meeting.
As part of that industry engagement, training and engagement bursary that they get of $4,500, it can also be used on what we call industry engagement. So if they want to go to conferences, field days, discussion days, study tours, whatever that looks like, the program pays for their conference tickets, accommodation, and most of the transport to get to and from these events. So it's a really exciting part of the program and something that's very unique, and I think a really amazing experience and opportunity for these young people. So this year, 2022, we had 14 participants go to Innovation Generation, which was a grain growers conference for young people in industry. We had people go to Hort Connections, Cotton Conference, the Young Beef Producers Forum, BeefX. They can literally go to anything. And it's just a really fantastic way for them to learn from interesting speakers, to meet peers, and also to meet the AgCAREERSTART participants that are scattered all over Australia. So we try and filter them into certain events so that they will meet other people on the program. So at the start of the year, when some of these key events start releasing dates, we will let you know. And if they are interested in going to an event that fits within your business's not busy times, essentially, we'd like to see them try and get to some of these events.
So it seems a little bit silly to be talking about the placement now that it's over, but when it hasn't even begun yet for you guys. But I guess as we move through the program, it is a 10 to 12 month program. So our participants need to complete at least 10 or more months up to that 12-month period to classify as graduated from the AgCAREERSTART program. So they need to have spent their training money and the training and industry engagement bursary within that 10 to 12 months. Towards the end of the placement, we'll start to ask the participants to think about what they're looking at doing in 2024, and for you guys as well to start thinking about what, how they might fit in your business, or what, or are they going to be moving on? So as a host farmer, there's three sort of main possibilities that you can do once it comes towards the end of the program. So you may choose to offer them ongoing employment, and that would be fantastic. We would absolutely love that. As Kayla said, we have a lot of them staying on farm again in 2023 from 2022, which is fantastic. Although they'd fall outside the AgCAREERSTART scope. So they no longer are in the program, but it's fantastic that they're staying on your farm. They will cease employment with you altogether, and that participant would move on. And then you can apply for the next intake should you wish to have another person on your farm for the following year. Or given that some of them do go off to further education, go and try new things, whatever it might be, you may be able to offer casual employment during, uni holidays or seasonal work. So there's lots of different opportunities to either keep or not keep them on your property for the following year, and we will work with you in those situations. If you have had that conversation with the participant and that you would not like to keep them on for the following year, we will work with those participants to have those conversations. Okay, what's the next step? Where would you like to go? We can help, you know, update their resume, cover letters, etc., to go forward in the industry. And we do ask if the participant is leaving the farm, that you do write a reference letter for that person on finishing the farm that they can use going forward, that, you know, they've had a great year on farm, whatever it might be. And we put that in their graduation pack at the end of the year.
Sorry, trying to find the unmute button. Just a couple of things I wanted to add here, something we didn't cover earlier, but something we have covered in our screenings is around probation periods and what happens if it's not working out. So probation periods are your right to enforce those within your employment contracts. Again, you're the employer, whatever you feel works for you. We don't want you to keep someone if ultimately it's just really causing you a headache and it's not going to work out. That's totally fine. That's where we just ask that we keep ourselves involved in the journey right the way through. If you're having issues, let us know, because we might be able to find them another placement if the issues are just sort of more of a compatibility thing, or we may be able to remove them from the program entirely and perhaps find you another participant in the alternate case. So just keep us involved with any performance management that might be required, because sometimes it just takes a rev up from us, a third party in addition to you, to sort of get them to pick up their act. But again, if it's not working out, you're not required to keep them, and we value and appreciate, you know, any commitment you make to the upskilling of these people, no matter how long that just so happens to be. Likewise, if they choose to leave the program early, we know some participants might have gone travelling this year or have had to finish early for family reasons. We know that flooding obviously was a massive problem for people this year and still is. Please just let us know if the participant is not going to be on farm for a period of more than 2 weeks. We would like to be informed in writing. That can just be a text message. It can be a phone call, an email, whatever suits you. Just give us a quick text, let us know what's going on. And then I think that's about it. Also, if the participant resigns to you, they're also required to resign from the program. So just remind them, if they, you know, it gets to December or, you know, even closer towards the end of the year, November, whatever, and they're leaving early, if they hand you a resignation letter, remind them that they also have to hand the same resignation to us. Some participants certainly forgot to do that this year, so just asking them to do those is really important as well. Just had a question in the chat from Sam. Do most employers put participants on casual or permanent employment contracts? I'll answer, but anyone's welcome to join in here if they would like. This year, most of our employers at least started out on a casual contract for a probationary period, and then after a probationary period, moved them to a permanent contract or a short-term contract that had an end date. But quite a few went straight into that sort of permanent position as well. We're totally flexible, and we've had farmers who've kept them on casual contracts right the way through if that's what works as well. For us, that's not the important part. The important part is that they work full-time equivalent hours and that they really are getting that full-time experience. Thanks, Daniel. Awesome. Good questions in the chat. We're nearly finished anyway, so there'll be plenty of time for questions now if you want to pop them in the chat. But just a couple of things I quickly wanted to reiterate. So we've got 3 ways primarily of contacting: email, which you'll all have our email address. You'll have Steph's, you'll have Chloe's, and we've got a mainline AgCAREERSTART email address as well. You can call us, so that 0262695602 number, that is I guess equivalent to a 1-800 number. So Steph, Chloe and I all have access to that. So if you call that number, you've got the best chance of getting through to one of us. And we can either take a message or put you through to the appropriate person. Or that mobile number down there is a text line only. So if you try and call that number, you're not going to, it'll say it's disconnected or something like that. I think that's for text only. So I don't know if you want to save it in your phones as, you know, AgCAREERSTART call and AgCAREERSTART text, whatever's easy for you. Just to remember that we actually won't we won't respond to a phone call that comes through that mobile number, but we will respond to text. If you're looking to get us out of hours, the text is actually the best. But in an emergency, that phone number that you can call will always come through to us. So it doesn't matter if it's a Saturday, Monday morning at 2 a.m, it will come through to the team. So yeah, save both, please. And then I'm very keen for the team to have a bit of a break. It's been a massive year, so we are going offline between the 22nd of December and the 2nd of Jan. What we would love to see is as many sort of offers of employment sort of sorted before we do go on break. Understand everyone's got different situations and circumstances influencing that, but it's good for us and for the participants to know before they go on Christmas break sort of what's going on. And then we'll be back in the office from the 2nd of Jan, because of course we've got some participants who are starting on farm that week, which is really, really exciting. I think that about covers it. I've got some questions coming through as now. Gavin, best to explain the responsibilities of permanent as most placements. This is their first employment. Yeah. So shocking, not shocking, how much or little the participants actually know about their rights as employees and the differences between the kinds of contracts and things as well. So try and explain it to them, but also encourage them to chat to their parents and seek advice. We can, to a point, give advice. We're not qualified to give, I suppose, HR advice to people, but we can certainly point them in the right direction of resources. And likewise to you as host farmers as well. We have a workplace relations lawyer on staff here at NFF. So if you really do have any questions specific to your employment contracts, please do let us know. We're more than happy to help with that. We don't have a pro forma employment contract, but we can give you resources where you can really just download one that has sort of drag and drop components that you can quickly and easily get done. And what was the main reasons for the 7% attrition? The main reasons that's coming to my mind is that what they had in them, the idea they had in their head of what a career in agriculture was going to look like versus the realities were two different things for these kids. And some of them, I think, again, it's probably a perceptions thing, but they weren't, I don't think they were quite prepared for how much hard work it was going to be. And also for many of them, how isolating it was going to be. So homesickness is a real problem for them. This will be the first time they deal with it. And so it can be a shock to the system and they just drop everything and go, I can't do this anymore, rather than try and figure out the way to work through that. We try and assist where possible, but they often will hide from us if that's the experience they're having. And so again, trying to create that environment, however possible, you can get them having that really open dialogue with you. But we've been really happy. Overall, the participants have had a really good year. They rave about the program. They rave about getting a start on farm. And so, yeah, we're really excited to see the next cohort start. Does anyone have any more questions? Feel free to ask questions and ask each other questions if you want to right now. Yeah, happy to provide that forum for people.
Well, people might be thinking of some, Kayla. I'll just add to that. We've been placing gappies here on our place since 2018. And I think what can be really useful sometimes if you've got enough people within your business to do this, where they feel like they've got a point of contact that isn't necessarily the person directly supervising them every day. So for our business, that's me. The main supervisor will be my brother Sam or one of their farm managers, but they know if they've got a problem with who they're working with or with their living situation, they can just knock on my door and come and talk to me, and they don't have to feel like they're rocking the boat with the person who's on that particular boat with them. And we sort of try and introduce a bit of a phrase to them about early, ugly and often. So if there's something that's upsetting you or that, you know, whatever it is, and I think you mentioned before, like being young adults, they're not necessarily comfortable yet with having potentially ugly conversations. So just trying to encourage them that early, ugly, often. Let's have those conversations early before they get too ugly, and let's have them all the time so that you're not sitting there for 2 weeks convincing yourself you're having a bad time. And we can, if it's a living situation, well, sweet, let's work that out. If it's who you're working with on a daily basis, sweet, let's work that out, instead of it becoming a problem first. And now the other thing I wanted to add to the conversation was in doing exit interviews with our gappies at the end of the year, we've found what's really helpful is when we're teaching people how to do things on the farm, that we also add why we do it that way. One, because it'll probably save them spending, you know, a few hours on a tractor and deciding they've come up with a brand new idea and trying it, and you come back and find they've done it wrong. But it's because you never explain the why, but also it helps them to understand why what they're doing at the time is important, and how they do it this way and do it accurately. Well, that helps every sort of activity that follows after that. So why as well as how.
I think that's so great, Daniel. Sam's asked, for the returning farmers, what was the biggest challenge you had with your participant? Sam, I might ask you if you don't mind sharing. I did see you hanging about here somewhere. Is he still on? I don't see him. Or Joanne, are you still on? Oh, there's Sam.
Just couldn't get my technology going. Biggest challenges, it's exactly what you said about the tendency to drop everything and run when there's an issue. That's our participant resigned a couple of weeks ago, and that was why. I love that early, ugly and often, Daniel. That's really good. It's so hard to work around. I don't have any other than that early, ugly, often idea. It's so hard to get 18 to 20-year-olds to come and have a tough conversation. They've got that flight option to them, and it's probably the one they take.
And I think hopefully that's kind of the role that Steph and Chloe play. I think certainly some of the issues we have been able to get involved in solving this year, they haven't reported to their host farmer, but in our regular checkups that we have, sort of Chloe, you know, doing a training meeting, will still ask, how's it going? You're having any issues on farm? And they'll feel confident to disclose to our team, but maybe not to you guys. And then that's, you know, we can sort of play that little supportive, maybe big sister, aunt, whatever kind of role, a more friendlier position, I suppose, where they can come to us and maybe raise some of those concerns, knowing that and trusting that if we don't think it needs to be escalated, we won't. But if we do think it needs to be escalated, we'll of course come to you guys as host farmers. And if we think it's going to have an impact on their employment or their long-term participation on farm, then of course we will let you know. I see Joe's jumped on. Joe, do you feel like sharing some of your experiences from this year?
Sorry, having trouble getting the mute. I've been driving, that's why I was off the camera. Look, I think discussions are important, as the others have talked about. I think it's just staying in touch with them. And can you hear me all right? Yep. Staying in touch with them and making sure you're chatting and everybody's on the same page. I think that's and as you said earlier, if there's any little problems, little stuff ups of any description, that it's addressed straight away. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. We've had a pretty good year, so no complaints here, but we have also had gappies on and off over the years as well, and it is important just to be in touch with everybody.
Great. So I think Steph sort of touched on it early, but I wanted to just sort of say some of the things that we've encountered throughout the year that might be challenges to address. And I know, Sam, we've had this conversation with you about participants managing their personal finances, maybe for the first time in their life. They're earning a full-time income for the first time ever. And this is certainly not your responsibility to manage, but I think just maybe if you've got suggestions for how we can support them in that, whether it's resources we can provide them, tools that we can give them, memberships to some kind of online forum that might be useful to them. You know, this will be the first time that they're going to have sort of an influx of cash into their bank account, and mysteriously they never have money for anything or access to a car, even though they've been earning a full-time wage. So just something to think about there. Also nutrition, particularly through those peak periods like harvest, shearing, those sorts of things. Most of them, we had our webinar with them this morning, and most of them said they can cook, which is good news, but I've seen kids eating packets of chips and tinned pineapples for lunch when I've gone to visit. So just, you don't need to parent them, but just little things that should be obvious maybe aren't to them when they're moving out of home for the first time. So again, we'll help as much as we can, but something to keep an eye on as well for some of these kids. They all come from very different socioeconomic backgrounds, different family structures. We don't expect them to maybe necessarily have had all the same sort of life skills taught to them as they grow up. So Gav, you put in the comments, for us, managing expectations as they have romance about the role until the hard times or long hours hit. Yeah, I think pretty along the lines of what I was saying earlier, and one of the main reasons, and you're all nodding because I know you've had experience with this in the past with maybe new starters on farm. We try really hard in the matching process to strip down the opportunities for what they are, get away from the romantic ideals. But I think Shane's on already with having issues with kids thinking they want one thing, and as much as we tell them we don't think it's a good idea, they'll fight us because they believe it's what they want, but ultimately yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. So it is a hard thing, and I think open to suggestions here from anyone who's had young people on farm in the past, like what's worked for you and maybe getting around some of this romanticism. Everyone's got a very little idea as we do. Silence is deafening. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Juanita, for us. So Juanita, Tipperary Station, they had a participant this year. For us, the inexperience of having to speak up and tell us what they can and can't do. Sometimes it's as simple as not being able to drive a manual car. Yeah. Yeah. Steph talked about the lawnmower thing before. We laughed, but that's actually what happened this year. We had participants not able to start a ride-on lawnmower. And again, something we think that is just a given they would know how to do. They don't know how to do. So, and they don't want to appear to be, I suppose, less than skilled, but that doesn't help you out as host farmers. So again, it's about that environment where they can come and address these skills gaps to you, and maybe we can provide them some training where it's possible. Awesome.
I think I was just going to say, that presuming that every single vehicle and every job they do is the first time they've ever done it is a good way to allow them to ask questions without feeling like they're stupid. Because you're teaching, you just got to presume that every single thing you do, it's the first time they've ever done it and they're new to everything. And then if they do already know, well, that's a bonus. And if they don't, well, yeah, they feel a bit more comfortable asking questions, I think.
I think that's great advice. Awesome. Well, I don't see any more questions. Keep them coming in if you do. Otherwise, we'll probably wrap it up here and let you get some time back in your day. We're very, very excited that you've all decided to jump on as host farmers. I will do a very quick final shout out. We still need a few more placements in the livestock industry. So if you've got maybe any colleagues, friends, peers in the industry who you've been chatting to about it, maybe give them a little nudge, because we've got a handful of really great quality participants who we still would love to find placements for next year. So hopefully you've had a good experience so far, enough to maybe suggest to some friends in the area. It's ultimately good for you because you get other people to complain to as well as us, but also your participants have someone else to lean on to. So yeah, we are desperate for livestock placements at the moment. We've got 15-ish quality candidates to provide. So definitely let us know if you know someone. We're trying to get matching done as much as possible before Christmas. And on that note, wishing you all a Merry Christmas, happy holiday season, and we'll see. Oh, Murray's got a question.
Just going to say one thing, just on back what we were just talking about, working with a few people over the last couple of years. One of the nicest ways to put that to the kids as soon as they started, to say, look, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And if you get them relaxed, say, look, because if you don't know, it can save embarrassment, and sometimes, so just no such thing as a dumb question. Ask rather than not ask, and make sure that they know that from the start. And I think they might be a bit more comfortable. And you do that with a smiling face. So listen, come to us. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Don't feel embarrassed. Just ask us, because it could save things down the track. So I think that's a good thing to do. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Thanks, Murray. Awesome. Gavin, that's very kind. Thank you. We've loved working with you too, and Julian as well, who's been Gavin's participant this year. Thank you very much, you guys. Look forward to working with you all very soon. This has been recorded, so we will pop it in a link that you can access if you want to refer to anything later, and we will send you the PowerPoint presentation as well. But I'm sure Steph and Chloe will be speaking to you soon.
And Carla, one more thing. Just when's the cut-up time to? We're juggling some accommodation issues and things like that, but so how long have we got? Because we're really pushing to sort it out, especially for the people involved as well.
Yeah, look. Business is business. You got to work within your own parameters. The vision we have is that the kids sort of know where they're going. That at least they know where they're going before Christmas, as much as possible. If that can't happen, that's okay. Particularly, we've got a few farms for whatever different reasons not starting their participant until March or even April. And in those cases, like, we just work with you on a case-by-case basis. They'll still qualify for the program, but our broad vision is that at least by the time sort of the first or second week in January comes around, they know where they're going and or they're already commencing their move.
Cool. No worries. No, we should have it sorted by then. That's cool. Well, thank you.
I think, Murray, the big one there is just communication with them. As long as they know what's going on and where they're at, as long as they know, like, 99% sure they're going to your farm, it doesn't really matter what date they start or what the housing looks like at the minute.
Right, cool. Thanks so much.
But on that too, I'm sorry, Kayla.
No, you're right.
We will keep matching over January. If we still have great participants that are looking for farm locations, we will still look for them. We will still look for places for them in January. So if you have a neighbour or a friend, or you can take someone else on your farm and you've worked that out in the first week of January, definitely let us know, because it's not too late.
Right.
Sorry, I now have a question. Sorry, Kayla.
Fire away.
Thanks, Murray, for reminding me. So say, for instance, our farm is in New South Wales and we have applicants from WA. What are the expectations with regards to relocating costs and things like that?
Yeah, so they have been told that moving is at their own expense, unless otherwise negotiated with you guys. So up to you if you want to offer some kind of, I know we've got at least one property offering a travel allowance if they stay for 3 months. So let's say they finish their first 3 months on farm, you reimburse them a certain amount of money. We've got some farms doing that, but by far and away, the majority it's at your own expense that you move and you relocate. And that's been communicated by us to them. So hopefully that's sort of what's filtering through to you guys as well.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I just wanted to get that, what the applicants have been told.
So their industry engagement and training bursary is called exactly that. It's not a travel bursary. It is for industry engagement things only. So they can only access that $4,500 to do training or industry engagement, not to move.
And can I add, Sam, on that one, every participant has notified us about where they want to go. So if they're moving from WA to New South Wales, they have explicitly wanted to do that and they're prepared to pay that cost.
That's fine. We're obviously happy to support our applicants, but just wanted to sort of gauge what their understanding was. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, the 2022 guys had the benefit of access to schemes like AgMove and things where the government was giving subsidies for people to move into regional locations. As far as we know, in all states that doesn't exist anymore. So we're back to sort of having the participants or your employees pay their own way to get to farm. Cool. Feel free to jump off now, guys, if you want. If you want to stick around and ask questions, we'll hang around for a few more minutes. But yeah, again, really, really appreciate your time and your effort and your enthusiasm in being host farmers. We're really excited to work with you all and hopefully get to meet you all through the journey.